In today's video, we're going to be specifically looking at why a virtual private network, a VPN, is not considered zero trust, right? And for some, that may seem a controversial topic by making that bold statement there. But I'm going to explain to you why that is the case. Why isn't zero trust? So really, zero trust principle is always to limit access, right? Assume there is a breach. But what we're looking at here as part of this video is we want to focus on what is called ZTNA. And you may have heard this terminology before, but it's basically zero trust network access. And really, while our goal may be zero trust network access, the VPN part is not helping us, right? So let's look at what exactly is a VPN, right? So on the left-hand side, we have our VPN client, and on the right-hand side, we have our data center on-prem. So typically what would happen is a person's laptop will have a VPN client. And what that will do is that will establish a tunnel, not to the service provider, but through a service provider. And it's important distinction there. So what happens is that the VPN client the traffic goes over through a service provider, and then what it does, it connects to what is called a VPN gateway, a concentrator at the data center. And what this tunnel essentially is an IPsec tunnel. Okay, now, and it is a tunnel there, right? So at the data center, you'll have, in the olden days, there used to be a dedicated VPN gateway. Most of this functionality has been combined into next generation firewalls and a single device that does a lot of security stack functionality. But essentially what you're doing with a VPN is you create the IPsec tunnel through the service providers, so likes of AT&T, Verizon, etc., and that terminates onto the VPN gateway. Now, once that tunnel is really created, the user is basically going to send traffic through that tunnel and then onto the network, okay? And what's interesting is that when the user is at home over here, it does something like a port scan or a network scan, it's going to be able to pick up a lot of things on this side. Because the reason why that is because essentially by creating the IPsec tunnel to the VPN gateway, you actually put the user onto the network here. You actually put it onto the network here, right? And from that network, it can then go on to do whatever it wants to go on to access different resources and everything else, right? And essentially, the other thing that you've actually done is here at the data center level is right now the security perimeter of the company. But as a result of actually building that tunnel, what you've actually done is you've extended the security perimeter all the way to here, right? Because now you have to make sure what's on the VPN client, okay? Now, it doesn't have to be limited to someone at home, right? We could actually have a different scenario, which is basically a user at a coffee place or a hotel. And again, a tunnel is created, probably using a different service provider because they're in a different location, and it goes to that VPN gateway. And again, that security parameter has now been extended all the way, okay, to where that user is in the hotel and the coffee place, right? So essentially what you can do is by creating these tunnels over here and this tunnel over here, you're expanding not only the trust parameter, but you're actually allowing the traffic that is going back and forth to be placed anywhere on the network. And that's why it's not called zero trust, because you want to minimize everything here. So one of the things and one of the approaches of actually doing that, which is an alternative approach, just to kind of give you a different context here, is that what you could do is in the middle here, okay, you could put a SASE platform. So now what happens is the client connects a connection to the SASE platform. Then the SASE platform will either connect to the data center on the back end, representing two separate connections, TLS1 and TLS2. Not a tunnel. Okay, it's an important distinction. And as that traffic goes in there, the SASE is controlling that traffic through policy enforcement and policy management and dictating what traffic should go where, including to the data center. And also, the biggest difference, so that way, in the zero trust model, the zero trust network access, when that traffic comes onto the on-prem, you are not putting that user onto the network. They cannot do a port scan. They cannot do a network scan. They cannot do a whole list of IP addresses that pops up when they do that. No, the only thing they will actually have access to is only the application that they're being granted to. So if the client in a SASE model does a port scan, a network scan, nothing's going to show up because that's not how a SASE model works, right? And also the security parameter is not extending to the client, right? That's not what's happening in a SASE model. So that's really kind of showing you why a VPN is not zero trust. It's definitely not zero trust network access, and how a SASE model helps to actually enforce the zero trust network access model. Thank you. That concludes today's video.